Okay, on this video, we're gonna talk about the 3 best proteins for fat loss. And I wish I had known this sooner. And I'm so excited to have this information, to apply this information, and to share it with you. So are you ready? Here we go. Here are the 3 you need to be eating every single day if you can. Let's dive in. It's interesting because the protein conversation in nutrition has just been bubbling up and bubbling up and bubbling up. And I always like to look at trends. And so one of the trends that I saw is that we, of course, way back in the 1970s and 80s and 90s, we were like, oh, fat is really bad. And everybody went low fat. And that was like our strategy for fat loss was avoid fat. And then all of a sudden we realized, wait a second, that isn't that bad. We've got fat, good fat, and we've got bad fat. We really needed to separate out the conversation around fat, and we needed to bring the good fat back in. Then we moved the cultural nutritional conversation into carbohydrates. And it was like, oh, carbohydrates are bad. And everybody went keto and they were scared of carbohydrates. But then there was some challenges with that because there are some good carbs that like nature's provided us with like fruit and sweet potatoes and some of leafy green vegetables, or actually a lot of vegetables have carbohydrates. So we needed to be able to separate out what I call man-made carbohydrates and nature-made carbohydrates. So it seems like with each one of these trends, there's been a deeper discussion that needs to be had. And with protein bubbling up to the surface and everybody talking about how it is the hero macronutrient, videos like this are really important because now we've got to dive into the nuance of protein so that you can understand it a little bit better so that you make the right choices and it actually works for you, that these new emerging trends actually get these results that you're looking for. So with that in mind, what we do know about protein, it is the most satiating of all macronutrients. So what that means is it's the most satisfying, it kills hunger better than carbohydrates or even fat. Now, I think of fat as like putting the brakes on hunger, but it's not necessarily satisfying. Protein can put the brakes on hunger, but it's also very, very satisfying. So you're not only pleasing your brain, but you're stabilizing your blood sugar, which ultimately is going to help with weight loss. Now, the other thing about protein that's really important is that every time you eat protein, you're increasing something called thermogenesis. And thermogenesis is where the heat in your body heats up to be able to burn fat. Now, I've been teaching you all about this fasting lifestyle where you become a really good sugar burner and you become a really good fat burner. And what we know about being a really good fat burner, like the best way to be the best fat burner is fasting, which is why so many of you have had such great results with fasting. But when we add protein in to our food, when we're over here in the sugar burner system, we actually increase our fat burning capabilities because we're increasing thermogenesis. So that's why it's such an important nutrient, because we can facilitate a faster metabolism by making sure that we eat more protein. Now, before I go into these, don't worry, I'm not trying to avoid it. I just want to give you some kind of big concept so that you don't just walk out of here of this video and think that the foods I'm about to show you are like the ones that you have to eat to improve fat loss. I want you to understand the concept. And one of the most logical questions that we're having right now around protein is how much? And what I have found is that this recommendation of 1 gram of protein for every pound of ideal body weight is a great guideline, but it falls apart in 2 areas. It falls apart when it takes a lot of work to eat that much protein all day long. So it can become really difficult, which over time becomes a disciplined habit you can't stick to. And it falls apart in certain people who have microbiomes that convert protein into glucose. And some of you, if you've been increasing the amount of protein in your diet and you're gaining weight, it's possible that you are actually have one of those microbiomes that converts protein into glucose. So I like really keeping it simple and saying at every single meal I eat, I want to get at least 30 grams of protein. In the new book that I have written that will come out in November of 2024, it's called Eat Like a Girl. I have lists in there of all my favorite proteins and what their protein count is and what their amino acid profile is. So hopefully, that will be available for you soon, depending on when you're watching this. But for the sake of this video, just ask yourself, what like 7 ounces of a chicken breast is about 30 grams of protein, at least, or even more. So I know that like 6 eggs are 30 grams of protein. I know when I make a protein shake, a lot of times my protein shakes have like a 15-gram protein per scoop. So I'll do 2 scoops. So just be looking at that 30 gram as your target with each meal. And I think that way we can steer in the right direction. With all those principles out of the way, Now, let's talk about these 4 best proteins. And number 1 is one that I personally love is Greek yogurt. So with Greek yogurt, what works with Greek yogurt is threefold. 1, it is the most protein-rich yogurt. So when you walk and you're looking at your yogurt aisle, if I just said eat more yogurt, not all yogurts have the same protein amount. Greek yogurt has the highest amount of protein. The second thing about Greek yogurt is it has a high amount of fat. So now we've got protein and we've got fat combined together. So our hunger, we're going to increase that satiation. Our hunger won't be as bad. Our blood sugar is not going to skyrocket. Throw some blueberries on there. And now you go watch the video I did on stem cells because blueberries can help regenerate stem cells for brain function. So a simple breakfast of Greek yogurt with blueberries can be incredibly powerful. Oh, the other thing about Greek yogurt is that it's high in lactobacillus. And there was a really interesting study that I found that showed that people who consumed lactobacillus as a part of their weight loss diet lost significantly more weight than people with the same diet that didn't have that added probiotic in. So remember that your gut microbiome is going to help to control blood sugar. So when we eat Greek yogurt, we are improving that type of bacteria called lactobacillus, which is ultimately helping with blood sugar regulation, which ultimately helps with weight loss. Okay, number 2, and this is one I'm really trying to bring back because I feel like we got lost in the headlines on this one, and that is tofu. So tofu, basically, as many of you know, is at the base of that is soy. It's a phytoestrogen. Soy is a form of plant-based estrogen that can help women increase their estrogen loads. So incredibly important for perimenopause and menopausal women. Remember, when estrogen dips as we go through those perimenopausal years, what happens is we become more insulin resistant. So there's a lot of ways to bring estrogen up, and one of them can be in tofu. So there's a couple of things I want to tell you about. And I'm going to link these studies for you in the notes for those of you that are soy hands. But there were 2 things I want to tell you on soy. So one is that 2012 study of menopausal women found that increasing estrogen caused significant fat loss. And then a 27 review showed that eating soy-based protein in particular helped women lose weight. So I personally find tofu easy to eat. Edamame is another thing that I often will eat. And I feel like we need to invite soy back into the female health conversation because somehow we completely lost our way and we villainized this poor food product that can be so beneficial, not only to your sex hormones, but can be incredibly beneficial for weight loss. Number 3 is fatty fish. Now, what's really cool about fatty fish is it's high in omega-3s. And we need omega-3s, not only for inflammation, but guess what? Those of you that are like, I just want to get rid of the belly fat. Here's a really interesting study that showed that they did 2 groups of adults with identical diets. And the only difference between these 2 groups was they allowed one group to add in omega-3s as a supplement. And what they found was that the group that added in omega-3s as a supplement lost significantly more belly fat than the group that didn't add in omega-3s. We also know that these omega-3 nutrients or fatty acids are precursors for a lot of sex hormones, specifically our good friends, estrogen and progesterone. You need good omega-3s to be able to make those. It's like an ingredient prerequisite for making these powerful hormones that many of us, or we all are, not even many of us, we are all losing as we go through the menopausal years. So adding fish back in, especially fatty fish like salmon. You may also try adding in some things like mackerel is a really good one. I found a long list that I thought was really important to point out because some of you are like, I don't like salmon. But when we look at mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herrings, they are all those are real fatty fish. They're real high in omega-3s. And again, bringing that omega-3 load up is going to help not only with the sex hormone production, but it's also going to help with getting you more protein and making sure that you lose weight, especially around the belly. But for the sake of this video, I really want you to think when you're thinking about fat loss, I want you to think about this metabolic switch. And I want you to think, yes, fasting is a powerful tool for losing weight. But when I go over into my sugar burner system, I need to bring my protein up. I need to bring my omega-3s up, and I can do it through the foods that I just showed you. So As always, I hope that it helps if you were really great at, have found that like increasing protein really helped you lose weight. Tell your story in the comments so that we can all see it and understand what you did. And we all, I think of my channel here on YouTube as a big incubator. Like, I'm bringing you the ideas that I'm seeing based off of science. I'm showing you what I've seen work within my clinic and within my online community. But that doesn't discredit some of the tips and strategies you might be finding helpful. And if we bring all of our minds together in this beautiful social media platform called YouTube, we all win. So I'd love to see your comments in there. What's working for you protein wise? How you doing with your protein load? Did you find adding protein in helped with your weight loss? Share it with us so that we can all learn from your experience.
Okay, where are my women? We're going to dive into food. 5 foods. I want you to incorporate these 5 into your diet. You don't have to do it every day, but how about every week? Because these 5 foods, it's like nature created them specifically for the female body. So on this video, I'm going to go into these 5 foods. I'm going to talk about why they are so great for you. I'm going to show you some science. And I hope that you find that just like I taught you in Fast Like a Girl, that that fasting can be medicine. Food can be medicine too for the female body. So let's dive in. Okay, the first food, I'm on a quest to bring this food back. And I have it written all over Eat Like a Girl. I have the Chef Leslie, who did the plant-based track for Eat Like a Girl, is obsessed with this food, gave us some great recipes, and I want to bring this food back. Are you ready? I feel like there should be a drum roll. Boom, boom, boom. It's soy. We started avoiding soy because somewhere along the line, we got the message that soy would cause breast cancer. Okay, soy is a phytoestrogen. So that means phytoestrogen means it's a plant-based estrogen. When we look at estrogen, there's toxic estrogen. Those of you who ever run a Dutch test or a hormone test, we call that 4-OH. And it is toxic estrogen, and it causes breast cancer. And then there is protective estrogen. We call this 2-OH. And 2-OH, protective estrogen, is a very, very helpful estrogen, and you need lots of it, and soy provides that for you. So if you're not convinced, let me tell you a couple interesting studies. The first one is a 2019 meta-analysis that basically showed that women who added soy into their diets lost weight. Okay, why would that be? Because when we bring in these phytoestrogens and we get this protective estrogen up, it helps balance out the harmful estrogens. And it's the harmful estrogens that you're getting in your skin products, that you're getting in pesticides that are sprayed. So make sure your soy is organic. The pesticides that are sprayed on fruits and vegetables, that those are endocrine disruptors. So just like we've talked about omega-3, omega-6 balance, we need to talk about protective estrogen and harmful estrogen balance. Really, really important. So you would lose weight because you brought up your protective estrogen, which helped counteract the toxic estrogen that your body's been accumulating in fat. So then when I dove in deeper, I found some really interesting studies. I've brought this to you all before, but in case you didn't see this video, that actually there was another study that showed that women who are going through menopause, this is a 2021 review, found that if they were eating soy, their menopause symptoms reduced. Again, when we look at estrogen, we can't just clump everything in the estrogen category. Like estrogen dominance is not an increase of good estrogen. Estrogen dominance is an increase in the toxic estrogen. You want to use food strategically to increase this protective estrogen. And when you do, your menopause symptoms will be better and you'll lose weight, according to these 2 studies that I will link and put in the notes. I also have a really good, if you're interested in that topic, I have a really good Resetter podcast that I did with my favorite integrative OB. And we geeked out on phytoestrogen. So I'll link that in the notes here too. Okay. So where do you get soy? Well, I like edamame. I think edamame because it's, a soybean. It's the original source. You can get it in tofu. I like tofu or tempeh. Those are both. Tempeh sometimes people can handle better because it's fermented. But soy milk is highly pasteurized, so I'm not a fan of soy milk. But I am a fan of edamame and tofu and tempeh. So be strategic and make sure you're getting clean soy products. Okay, so that's soy. Are you ready for number 2? This gets better. Number 2, dark chocolate. Okay, yes, healthiest foods that women need. Now, the reason I like chocolate is for several things. I like it because it's got magnesium in it. So for me, at like the end of a day, I will, at the end of a day and I have my dinner, then a little square of chocolate because it just makes my brain happy and it's some magnesium to help me sleep. But the science says that there's some other really interesting reasons why you would want to have chocolate is because it's high in what they call naringenin. And naringenin is a phytoprogestin that will naturally increase progesterone levels. So it's also, we know that dark chocolate is packed with lots of polyphenols, which is great for gut health. So let's look at the two I've given you. We know soy can raise the protective estrogen, and chocolate can raise your progesterone. When we're going through menopause, what's happening is this ratio is going off. So a daily dose of some edamame and chocolate, maybe not at the same time, although somebody should come up with a recipe on that, can really naturally help you balance out these two levels. And what I love too is that my chefs in Eat Like a Girl have so many chocolate recipes. When we sat down to build out this book together, I was like, I need lots of chocolate. It's amazing for women. There's so many reasons why we should do chocolate, and really good, high quality, organic dark chocolate. So if you want to know how to make some great recipes in here, I highly recommend checking out Eat Like a Girl. Okay, but here's what I think is really interesting about chocolate is that not all chocolate's the same. So make sure you're getting one that's 70% or higher. That's important. You don't want your chocolate to be like a 50% or milk chocolate. It needs to be dark chocolate. Okay, number 3 is wild caught fish. Now, wild is important compared to farm. Farm is basically they put it in a container and it doesn't have as many omegas, whereas wild, it's been out swimming in long distances and it has a lot of good omegas. So, not only is wild caught fish high in protein, which we need. So the thing about menopause in general is that we are really fighting for muscle, and wild caught fish really has a high amount of protein. So you're not just getting the omegas. I feel like the protein amount doesn't get talked enough about. So wild caught fish is really important to bring that protein up. But there was actually a 2021 meta-analysis that showed that omega-3s in general can improve sex hormone production and can decrease inflammation. So this analysis actually went on to say that there are 10 different studies that show that omega-3s increase estrogen and progesterone production, that they protect against oxidative stress, and they decrease inflammation. So now we've got ourselves some fatty fish that's helping with estrogen and progesterone production. I actually see a meal forming out of this video. One of my favorite recipes in here that Chef Leslie made was a kimchi edamame bowl. Oh, so good. If you paired that with some just broiled salmon, which Chef Jeff put a really good salmon recipe in here, and then do some chocolate, now you have yourself not only a yummy meal, but you have yourself a meal that's helping your hormones. So again, food is hormonal medicine when we use it right. Now, what are the fish that are best for omega-3s? It's an interesting one because salmon is the most tasty to me, but when we look at like really dense omega-3 foods, we have to be looking at mackerel and anchovies, sardines, herring. All of those can be really good. So if you like those fatty fishes, make sure you include them on a daily basis. Chef Jeff did something really interesting I was really excited about in Eat Like a Girl. He did a sardine tostada, and he actually created a little breading with some hemp seeds around the outside of it. Mwah! It is so good and a beautiful way to get sardines in. So again, get yourself a copy of Eat Like a Girl so you can get some of those recipes. But that's wild caught fish. So that's number 3 of the foods. We have anybody's mouth salivating yet? I'm hungry, I know, doing this video. Okay, number 4, the 4th most important food for women is actually a category of food, and it's complex carbohydrates. Now, I'm not a big fan of high carb diets. I believe that women should cycle high carb or higher carb with lower carb. In both Fast Like a Girl and Eat Like a Girl, I have talked about the fact that the 2 food styles I like are ketobiotic, that's a lower carb style, and hormone feasting foods, which is a higher carb style. So what I'm about to tell you would be great when you're in your higher carb days, your hormone feasting days. And here's what's really interesting. And by the way, if that's a new concept for you, what I want to encourage you to do is look at this higher carb the week before your period, or for my perimenopausal women, it's when the anxiety kicks in. Or for my postmenopausal women, at least once or twice a week, I want you to include these complex carbs. And honestly, my favorite of all favorite, outside of chocolate, is a sweet potato. And there's a lot of different versions of sweet potatoes. So remember that each sweet potato has a different color, and each color brings a different set of antioxidants. So make sure when you go to the store, you get the purple ones. Sometimes you get the white ones. Sometimes you get the yellow ones. But sweet potatoes are great complex carbs for women. Squashes are great. Carrots are great. Beets are amazing. Chickpeas are off the hook. I love taking carrots and dipping it into hummus. It's a great, yummy meal, but also incredible for hormones. And then, of course, we have our legumes like lentils and beans. And we have all, I mean, it's funny because this video, there's over 100 recipes in here that will really support all of these foods. So complex carbs. Complex carbs means they have fiber, but the ones I mentioned specifically are great for women. Number 5. Ready? Berries. I love berries. I talk about berries, I feel like, on every video here. But the reason berries are great is that they're low in sugar, high in fiber, and they're packed with antioxidants. If we throw around the word antioxidant a lot without really explaining what it is, it's like a multivitamin. Nature made you a multivitamin to protect your cells from all the toxic damage. So we want to make sure that we're eating lots of berries. And there was an interesting, we think of berries for brain health. My sweet friend, Jim Quick, I just love that man. I brought him on my podcast and we talked a lot about the superfood power, brain superfood power of berries. And as I've researched berries more, it's really interesting. Like this study I just found that people who are overweight, who ate blackberries, which are really great, showed a greater fat oxidation and increased insulin sensitivity. So let's maybe get out of the blueberry lane and get into like the blackberry. I know that my daughter lives in Idaho, and she was telling me huckleberries are really popular. I was like, huckleberries, I've never tried that. I can tell you by me here in California, awalla berries show up 2 weeks out of the year, and I grab them, and they're so tasty. So different berries have different antioxidant, pack a different antioxidant punch. But what's interesting about this study is that they're finding that the blackberry actually can show a greater fat breakdown. That's what oxidation means, and that it can increase your insulin sensitivity. So remember how I talk about hemoglobin A1C all the time? What I'm saying here is that you can add blackberries in to really improve that hemoglobin A1C measurement. Again, food is medicine when you know how to use it. The other thing about berries is it can slow aging. So those of you that are looking to slow that process down, the polyphenols in berries really help to preserve brain function, which is what my sweet friend Jim Quick taught us in the Resetter podcast. So they're yummy. They help with insulin sensitivity. They help you break down fat, and they keep you cognitively performing cognitively well. And they taste good. It's not like I'm giving you a horrible food to eat. So let's bring berries back into the conversation. So some of the berries that you might look at. Strawberries are interesting. Be careful that they're not sprayed with pesticides. Blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, cranberries, because they're a little bitter. Remember, all bitter foods help the liver, and we need the liver to break hormones down. So you do have a good selection there, hopefully, especially if you're in the summertime where berries are prolific. But those are the 5, okay? Soy, we had dark chocolate, we had wild-caught fish, we have the complex carbs like the squashes and the potatoes, and then we have the berries. And I got to tell you, the book is packed with recipes. If you want to know how to make those, my chefs knew how to turn science and what I just taught you into delicious recipes. So Eat Like a Girl's out right now. And if you have a copy, depending on when you're listening to this, tell me your favorite recipe in there. But most of all, keep believing in yourself. Food is hormonal medicine when you understand its power. So keep leaning into the right food so you can just discover how beautiful this body is and how blessed you are to live in this incredible home. Okay, my baby's coming to you. Eat like a girl. You want to know the foods that will support hormones? Guess what? I have them for you already. It's a free giveaway. Just click the link above and I'll send you a list of all the foods that support amazing hormonal health. Okay, fruits and diabetes. How can we match those together? And I also want to point out that a lot of you that go into low carb diets, you start to fear fruit. And I want to bring back fruit for you because anything that the planet made, anything that's coming from the ground there's a reason that it's on our planet and it is useful to our bodies. And fruit is one of them. There is a place for fruits. But if you have any metabolic imbalances, if you're diabetic, if you know your hemoglobin A1C is really high, if you're trying to get yourself out of insulin resistance, I know that for many of you watching my channel, it becomes quite easy to avoid fruit. But I don't want you to miss out on all the incredible antioxidants and polyphenols and all the incredible benefits that fruit can give you. So let's just do it in a very metabolically smart way. So here we go. And there's 17 of them. Are you ready? Here we go. First thing I want you to realize is that
every food, but we're just keeping this to fruit, has a measurement of what it will do to your blood sugar. So when you eat that food, we know how high is it going to spike your blood sugar. And that increase in blood sugar is called a glycemic index. So all foods have been given this glycemic rating. And so when we look at somebody who's trying to overturn insulin resistance, when we look at somebody who's trying to improve their metabolic flexibility and their whole metabolic system, if we look at somebody who's pre-diabetic or diabetic, we have to bring in this conversation of the glycemic index. So unfortunately, some of the fruits, like the tropical fruits, which, by the way, I'm a fan of for progesterone building, I'm not a fan of for metabolic flexibility long term. I feel like for women, we should bring it in to periodically, those tropical fruits, to increase progesterone. But as a fruit that you would eat on a regular basis, it's a no for me. I only go into bananas, mangoes, papayas if I'm trying to raise progesterone, and I'll do a splash of those. And then I go back to these 17 fruits I'm going to talk about now, because those fruits are just so high on the glycemic index. Here is the first one, and it really is a category, but I'll break it down in because it's got some really interesting pieces to it. You can never, ever, ever go wrong with a berry. Berries are amazing. Raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. My farmer's market in the springtime, there's like a 2-week period where they've got a wall of berries, my favorite. So you can never go wrong with a berry. And remember that when you cook it, so like if you put it in a pie or, you try to make like any kind of sauce, or my son the other day was taking pomegranates and reducing it into a reduction sauce. Anytime you start to cook with it, you pull some of those nutrients out. So it would prefer, in order to get the benefits that I'm going to talk about here with berries, is that you are using them raw. And that they're organic. They're not sprayed with pesticides, because pesticides are an endocrine disruptor. So raspberries is the first berry. It's the lowest in sugar, and it's incredibly high in fiber. So remember, when we're doing low carb diet, we're looking at the net carbs, and a net carb is your total carb minus the fiber. So when we look at a net carb of a raspberry, the net carb is very low because it has so much fiber. So it'll slow down that absorption of blood sugar, which is why it can work for a diabetic. Second thing that we have to think about is that it's a good source of polyphenols. And polyphenols, remember, are feeding your microbiome. So you got these little pets inside your gut. They make you serotonin, they balance your blood sugar, they improve your immune system. They're like little, I know as sad as and gross maybe as it sounds, but they're bugs. They're alive, and they're in your gut, and they want food. And if you feed them, they get really happy, and they make you a lot of wonderful neurochemicals. So what we know about raspberries, those little bugs in your gut love them. And so you're going to make all the neurotransmitters that the gut can make. You're going to improve your immune system. It has even been shown to slow aging. Raspberries and polyphenols have been shown to slow down aging and bring down inflammation. Okay, number 2, strawberries. So strawberries are really low in sugar, which is great, but they have 2 other things, and this is why I put them on the list. They're high in vitamin C, which is really important for hormonal production. You got to have enough vitamin C, but they're also really high in potassium. Okay, my fasters out there, I want you to keep in mind that when we go into fasted states, potassium is one of those minerals that we deplete. And one of the challenges with low potassium can be restless legs. So those of you who get kind of fidgety, can't relax your body, sometimes that's just as simple as a low potassium. And then you put yourself in a fasted state, and all of a sudden the restless leg kind of syndrome sort of appears in a deeper way. Well, strawberries, when you're in your eating window, can really help with that. Number 3, blackberries. Now, what's superior about blackberries for all berries is they're very high in fiber. In fact, of all the berries, I'm telling you, blackberries are the highest in fiber. So they're going to really stabilize your blood sugar. For me, that's my favorite. One of my, outside of a wall of berries, my favorite is blackberries. I put it in Greek yogurt. Love it. It's a very common dessert for me. Also really good in fiber. Okay, the last berry that I want to talk about before I move on to other fruits is the blueberry. And the blueberry, if you're not familiar with how powerful the blueberry is, it's really good for your brain because it increases blood flow to your brain. So because of its ability to increase blood flow, it helps with brain function and heart health. Go check out the incredible podcast I did with Jim Quick. We walked through many different superfoods. And number 2 was blueberry for brain power. I have blueberries all the time in my refrigerator. Often that's my snack. Sometimes I'll even break my fast with it, but blueberries are incredible superfood. Once we move out of the berry category, we got to move into another category of fruits, and that's called citrus fruits. And citrus fruits are also very low in sugar, which is amazing. So they're low on that glycemic index, which is why they work for diabetics. It's why they work for people who are metabolically challenged right now. So, and when I say, it's really interesting. When I say citrus fruits, I think most people think oranges and they think orange juice. I am not recommending orange juice. In fact, if you go and you look at my past videos,
I did a whole video on why I hate orange juice. It is such concentrated sugar. But oranges have so mumuch fiber in them and so many antioxidants in them. Oranges are great for making estrogen, by the way, for my women out there, my peri and postmenopausal women. So oranges is great. Grapefruits are great. Lemons, limes, clementine, and tangerines. They're phenomenal. I know when my kids were in grade school, we used to put those little clementines in their bag all the time because it was so easy to peel, so easy to carry, and really, really yummy. And all of these are really high in vitamin C. Remember vitamin C again, you need vitamin C to make hormones. You need vitamin C for your immune system. Third category of food. This is literally one of my favorite. I'm going to share with you my favorite food on the planet, but it's my favorite fruit on the planet. And this category is stone fruits. So stone fruits are really low on the glycemic index, which is great. They're high in fiber. We also have science showing that they improve circulation. So they're good at lowering blood pressure. So specifically, the best stone fruits to eat are peaches, nectarines, and plum. Now, I want to talk a little bit about if you're like me and you're at the farmer's market and you're trying to decide if something is high in sugar or low in sugar. If you buy something that's just a little bit green, like my favorite fruit, which could be my favorite food, is a white nectarine, and I like it a little crunchy and I like it a little green. And because of that, it's not as high in sugar. It won't raise my blood sugar as high. When you eat stone fruit and it's like dripping out of your mouth, yeah, that's yummy. But the longer that stone fruit ripens, the more sugar builds inside of it. So if you can get a little bit green, some of these peaches and nectarines, even some plums, if they're a little tart, like a green plum is really tart. If you can get some of those tart stone fruits, the glycemic index will be lower. Okay, I got two more categories of food. The next one is my absolute favorite, and it's an avocado. Okay, wait, I thought we were talking about fruits. Avocados have a pit in them, which makes them a fruit. Anything that has a pit or a seed is a fruit, technically. So, gosh, avocados are the best fat on the planet. It's also superfood for the brain. Jim Quick and I unpacked the avocado on the Recenter podcast interview I did with him. It's amazing for stabilizing blood sugar. So it can act a little sweet. You know, it's interesting. I'll tell you one of my favorite things to break my fast with is an avocado with some sauerkraut. So it has a little bit of sweetness to it. I know if you've been eating a high sugar diet, you might disagree with me. But once you pull sugar out, you'll start to see that there is a beautiful sweetness in an avocado. The fat is good fat, so it's really good for your brain. It's great for helping your liver make healthy cholesterol. And it has 10 grams of fiber. It's really high in fiber. Remember, we got to bring fiber up to feed the microbes in the gut, but also to stabilize blood sugar. I hope you don't fear the avocado. It's like one of my favorite of all favorite. In fact, I've mentioned this before. Tom Billio on Impact Theory asked me if I could only bring one food on a desert island, what would it be? And I said avocados. The last category, which is really interesting, and I'm going to give you some fun ways to look at this food, is tomatoes. So if you can make some guacamole and put some tomatoes in it, you're going to get a double whammy of some sweetness, stabilizing your blood sugar. But I'll tell you my favorite way to eat a tomato. And I only know the company that does it. I know we have a lot of great chefs out here that could probably figure out how to make this, but it is fermented salsa. Wise Goat, you can go check them out, has the best fermented salsa on the planet. So if you are a fermenter and you know how to ferment, try fermenting salsa. And now you're getting that good bacteria, which is going to stabilize blood sugar. And what we know about tomatoes is that it's not only an anti-inflammatory, especially if you add in some jalapeno. But if you do like a guacamole with a strong tomato, some avocado, and some jalapenos, you're bringing inflammation down, you're stabilizing blood sugar, you're bringing fiber up, and jalapenos have capsaicin in it, and that speeds up your metabolism. So there's so much to unpack here. And what I'm hoping you're seeing, and I know if you just stumbled upon, this is your first video on my channel, welcome. And what I'm trying to show you all is how to master these two metabolisms we have. When I wrote Fast Like a Girl, I was really focused on teaching you how to master the fat burning metabolism because so many people don't even know about that. When I do a video like this, what I'm here to help you do is master the sugar burner system. There's two metabolisms to master. So when we look at food as medicine, it is absolutely medicine. It should be our first level of medicine. We got to go to these foods and go, okay, when I'm eating guacamole with a spicy jalapeno in it, I'm not just delighting my taste buds and getting some dopamine, but I'm bringing inflammation down. I'm stabilizing blood sugar. I'm feeding my microbiome.
I'm improving my metabolism, and all of that fits under the sugar burner system. Food is that powerful. So as always, I hope that helps. I don't want you to fear fruit. I want you to bring fruit back into your life, but I want you to be really smart about it. So here's what I want to do, because I love looking at your comments. In the comments, I want you to tell me, of all those things, which one's your favorite? What's your favorite fruit? I'm excited to see what everybody says. And as always, thank you all for sharing my videos and for engaging with me in the comments. We are more powerful together. I'm so happy that these are helping. And yes, we need to look at food as medicine. Sometimes we do a lot of fasting on this channel, and now it's time to make sure that you master food. As always, I hope that helps. I know